Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Lock Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Mosteller. And guys, we have finally made it to the start of the NFL season. We've done all the homework, we've drafted, and now we are here. So, if you're new to the channel, from here on out, each week I will give you my predictions, bets that I'll be placing, as well as locks of the week. We'll get into some daily fantasy as well to tell you who the best lineup to draft is, as well as start sits for the week. So if you're not following already, make sure you do so here on YouTube, as well as over on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Sportslock Podcast. So let's not waste time. Let's jump into it. I'm excited for week one of the NFL, and we're starting on Thursday Night Football with the Detroit Lions. They're plus 5.5 at Kansas City. The over-under is 52.5. Now, I'm just excited that football is back. But personally, in this game, I like the Lions to cover that 5.5. It was a little bit more, but Travis Kelce right now is questionable, leaning towards not playing. That being said, I think it's going to be a pretty good offensive battle between the two. I think there's some good matchups. And for the Chiefs, I think it's going to be a struggle early to try to figure out who that wide receiver one's going to be. Is it going to be Kadarius Toney? Is it going to be Sky Moore? Is it going to be MVS? There's so many options there, and I think that's going to be the struggle. In the end, I think Kansas City still finds a way to win, but I am taking Detroit to cover that 5.5. I'm also going to play under 52.5. I think this could easily soar over that, but in the first week and with the injury concerns, I'm going to go slightly under. Now over to Sunday at the first 1 o'clock game, we have the Panthers at the Falcons. Right now, Carolina comes in as 3.5-point underdogs, a new rookie quarterback and Bryce Young going into Atlanta. I'm going to play over 39.5. I think these teams can score on the offensive end, not too fond of the defenses. But it's going to be a great running back battle here between the rookie Bijan Robinson and Miles Sanders. I'm really looking forward to that. As far as a sports bet, though, I do think Atlanta covers at home the 3.5 and outright wins. I just think that team coming into the second year with options there that they have, I think that they'll succeed more at home compared to Bryce Young and their new additions, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, to name two there. So I'm going to take some time on Carolina to get them settled with their new team and take Atlanta at home. Baltimore hosts Houston, and Baltimore's 10-point favorites against Houston. Houston has not looked good in the preseason with CJ Stroud at QB, and again, some changes there as well at the wide receiver position. I like Baltimore to cover easily that 10. I think that Lamar Jackson being healthy, obviously they have some new additions too, but you have a healthy J.K. Dobbins, a healthy Mark Andrews, just a much better team. And I know 10 is a lot of points, but I'm taking them to cover. I'm taking them to win. And I'm going to play under 43.5 because I just don't have faith in this Texans offense against this Baltimore defense. Cincinnati is 2.5-point favorites on the road in Cleveland. And I'm going to take that. They're coming back. It looks like Joe Burrow is going to play in this game. They're just a more dynamic offense. And I wasn't a big fan of Deshaun Watson last year when he came back. I think they're going to have some issues. They're going to try to use Nick Chubb as much as they can. But ultimately, in the end, for only talking a field goal, I like Cincinnati on the road against Cleveland. I'm going to play under 47.5. It's the first game of the season. And I think some guys are going to be a little rusty, especially Joe Burrow with that injury. He might not be 100%, but ultimately Cincinnati gets the job done. Jacksonville is 4.5-point favorites at Indianapolis. A new quarterback there in Indy and Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor will be sitting. So with that being said, I like Jacksonville to win -4.5. I think Indianapolis does make it a little bit closer than people expect, but ultimately Jacksonville covers. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. You have newly acquired Calvin Ridley that was just a stud when he played. Obviously, the issues with the sports betting kind of hurts him there. But coming back, we know he's a great wide receiver. You pair him with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. That offense is loaded. So with that being said, I like them a lot. I'm going to play under 45.5. Again, the first week, I think guys are rusty or guys maybe haven't played in the preseason. So I'm going to play a lot of unders this week, including the under in this next game. Minnesota is hosting Tampa Bay -6.5. And That's going to be my first lock of the week. I love Minnesota -6.5. You have Tampa Bay that has some talent, but Baker Mayfield is taking over at quarterback. And in Minnesota, you lost some key pieces in Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen. But Alexander Madison is a fantastic back that can produce. You had Jordan Addison, who's a fantastic young rookie wide receiver. And then you have TJ Hawkinson, who, in my opinion, is the second best tight end in the league. I don't see much of a drop off from Minnesota. I know Kirk Cousins is getting older, but when you're at home, your first game, and you have a new quarterback coming in with Tampa, I like Minnesota by a touchdown easily. I'm locking that in for my first lock of the week. And again, playing under 45.5. Tennessee at New Orleans should be a low scoring game, in my opinion. I'm playing under 41.5. I don't think it's going to be that exciting of a game, but it's going to be interesting to see Derek Carr throw for the first time there in the regular season for the Saints. No Alvin Kamara, of course, due to suspension, but second-year wide receiver Chris Olave and my wide receiver sleeper for the year, Michael Thomas. A great offense there. Tennessee's coming in with Tannehill, Derrick Henry, their normal group, but adding DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think it's going to be a very eventful game, very low scoring. And with that being said, I like New Orleans to cover that 3 at home and win the game. San Francisco at Pittsburgh. I'm locking in the over in this one of 40.5. If this was last year, I'd say soaring under, but both of these offenses have proven to do well. More recently with the Steelers in the preseason, Kenny Pickett led some amazing drives. He was 5 for 5 and scoring touchdowns there during the preseason. That offense looks a lot better. You add in a guy like Allen Robinson to that offensive core, and just the guys that they're bringing back that they're used to, I think provides a great opportunity for Pittsburgh this week to put up some points. San Francisco last year, they looked great as well. Anywhere you look, you have talent. You have Brock Purdy, who was had the number one passer rating last year. You have one of the best running backs, if not the best running back, in Christian McCaffrey. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are two amazing wide receivers. George Kittle, as long as he's healthy, which he looks like he'll play, one of the best tight ends in the league, and a great defense. Pittsburgh has a great defense too, but is it going to be enough to get over the 40.5? I think the defense is going to give up some points on both sides. And ultimately, I see this being like a 21-17 game, and that's just going to cover the over right there. Moving on with the last 1 o'clock game, we have the Cardinals at the Commanders. The Cardinals have just given up on life. Kyler Murray won't be playing. James Conner will. Looks like no Zach Ertz. They made a lot of trades here. It looks like they are trying to vouch for the number 1 pick next season. And they're going into Washington that has some potential to win some games this year. I don't think they'll do any better than 4th in the division, but Sam Howell is a very interesting rookie, or I shouldn't say rookie. It's his 2nd season, but he'll be starting this year. Sam Howell has a lot of potential. Maybe no Terry McLaurin, but Jahan Dotson is a very good sleeper wide receiver. You have 2 average backs there, Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson. And with that all being said, I think Washington easily wins that game. They have the better defense too, -7. It's going to be under 38.5. I know that's already low enough, but both teams I think will struggle to put up points. Again, not a very eventful game. And I'm taking Washington. My next lock, and it's probably my favorite one to bet this week, is Chicago -1.5 at home versus Green Bay. We saw a lot that people liked last year out of Chicago. You bring in DJ Moore to give another weapon to Justin Fields. I know the running back, you lose Montgomery, but you got Khalil Herbert. But your quarterback is your running back, a solid tight end. And they're at home against Green Bay, who is bringing in Jordan Love for his first game. Then you have talented running backs, and the wide receivers are okay. But with that being said, a divisional game in Chicago with all the odds against Green Bay, no more Aaron Rodgers. You lose out on Allen Lazard and other guys. I like Chicago -1.5. I'm surprised that it's not going up, and it could go to maybe a field goal, but I'll take that right now. I love it. It's my lock of the week. I'm playing over 43.5. I do think there's points put on the board, and give me Chicago all day. We have the Raiders at the Broncos for the first slate of the 4:30 games. This game doesn't seem too interesting to me. I'm going to take Las Vegas +4 to cover. It's going to be a field goal game, but Denver pulls it out at the end. Very low scoring. It was almost a lock to put in the under of 44. I still think that's a little high, and I'll probably play it. But I think this is going to be kind of a boring game. New quarterback in Jimmy G. You're probably not going to have Jerry Jeudy for the Broncos, and Russell Wilson just wasn't that great to watch last year. So I'm going to play the under. This one should be a really fun one, a very high scoring game. Miami +3 at the LA Chargers. Just two great quarterbacks with Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa. Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen. You have Mike Williams. You have Jalen Waddle. This is just going to be a great offense. Austin Eckler is the key in this game. That's why the Chargers win by the field goal. I have them covering and winning, but I think it's over 50.5. It's going to be a fun game to watch. Not much defense, just a lot of points put on the board. And out of all the games at the 4:30 slate, this is going to be the most exciting for me. My last lock is going to be Philly -3.5 at the Patriots. The Philadelphia Eagles coming off what should have been a Super Bowl victory was not. And they have a lot to prove again this year, I think. They're going to come out really ticked off for not winning the Super Bowl. The Patriots, I'm not a big fan of this year to do well. And if you're saying it's just 3.5 against the Super Bowl team, against an average Patriots team, lock it in, give it to me all day. Love Philadelphia -3.5. I'm playing under 45 points, though. The Rams at my second favorite team, Seahawks. Seahawks open up as -5.5 point favorites. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take Seattle to win. Jackson Smith and the Jigba looks like he'll play this upcoming Sunday. Their offense is much better looking than the Rams right now. I'm not a big fan of Stafford this year. Cooper Kupp will not play. So all they're going to have is Tyler Higbee and then Cam Akers. I'm playing under 45.5 because of that. I like Seattle though a lot this week. Dallas is -3.5 at the Giants for Sunday Night Football, a great divisional game. In the end, this might surprise people, but I'm going to take Dallas -3.5. They are a team that has a lot to prove. I think they can easily win that division, but they have a lot of work to do, and they've been getting a lot of hate. You lose Zeke Elliott, but now you have Tony Pollard as your main back. I'm not concerned with that. So with that being said, I like Dallas -3.5, and I think they're going to try to pound it to the Giants. Oh, plus Dallas has one of the best defenses in the league, playing under 46.5. And finally, what could be the game of the week? The Bills versus the Jets. You have Aaron Rodgers now on the Jets and a kind of new looking Jets team who's improved their defense. Buffalo, I was not really thrilled with in the preseason. I didn't think they looked that good, and they played their starters. So with that being said, and even before the season started, knowing that Rodgers was coming to the Jets, I love the Jets +2.5 at home and outright beating the Buffalo Bills. I think it's going to be a surprise, but at home, Aaron Rodgers is going to win his first game as a Jet. Playing over 46.5, there's going to be some points on the board. So let's get to the week 1 daily fantasy. And right here, I only had $100 left over when I took a look at this. But I really like this team this week. Taking a couple risks there, but you have to do it in daily fantasy. We're going to start off with the quarterback, Geno Smith, $6,100. He's just very underrated. This year, he's listed as the QB 15 for most fantasy leagues or fantasy groups, no matter if you're ESPN, Yahoo, wherever, that's about where he's going. When he finishes a wide receiver 5 last year and then adds another weapon in Jackson Smith and Najigba, I just don't see it happening. I think he's very underrated this year. He's a sleeper for me. I've drafted Geno Smith in every one of my leagues, and I'm standing by that this week against a poor Rams secondary. I think Geno Smith lights it up. So I'm taking him at that price. At running back, first I'm going with Joe Mixon, $6,800. I thought that was a good deal for Joe Mixon. No Samaje Perine behind him. And if you have a hurt Joe Burrow, they're going to try to check it down and run the ball a lot. Against Cleveland this week, I really like Mixon's upside. And Cleveland last year was 27th against the run. My second running back is Miles Sanders of Carolina, $5,600. A great price there. There was concerns with some injuries, but he says he's healthy and ready to go this week. the Atlanta run defense won't be so good. I think they're going to utilize Miles Sanders a lot this week. I think they're going to use him a lot like they did Christian McCaffrey. Now, I don't think he is Christian McCaffrey, of course, but Sanders for Philadelphia last year was a top 15 running back in fantasy. And now you put him on a team that's going to use him more. I really like Miles Sanders this year, and I really like him at the price this week in daily fantasy. My wide receivers start out with Keenan Allen, 7,300. Keenan Allen was on pace to finish as a top 10 wide receiver last year if healthy. He's the clear number one guy for Herbert, who is also who is also healthy. I expect this to be a very high scoring game, and I do think that they connect on a touchdown or two. My second wide receiver here is Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. Again, for the same reason why Geno Smith is going to be good. He's got to throw it to somebody, and I think Tyler Lockett is his guy that he likes. He was better than Metcalf in fantasy last year, and you're getting double points against that poor Rams secondary. Wide receiver 3 is Michael Thomas, and a lot of people are going to give flack for this. And how can you trust Michael Thomas? Well, last year, Michael Thomas had 3 touchdowns in 3 games. When he's played, he's been good. And we know that Derek Carr can support 2 wide receivers. And I think that he is more like Davante Adams than Chris Olave. So I like Michael Thomas. And when he's healthy, he produces. So while he's healthy, let's get the use out of him. 5,100, like the price. Absolutely love this price this week, and a must start is Tyler Higbee of the Rams. No Cooper Kupp, and with that being said, they're going to throw to Tyler Higbee a lot. For only 4,800, it is an absolute steal. At the flex is Jahan Dotson at 5,000. It's possible that Terry McLaurin doesn't play this week. If he doesn't play, Dotson's the clear number one. And even not, I think Sam Howell likes Dotson more than he likes Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't be surprised if Dotson finishes the top wide receiver on that team over McLaurin. So that's why I like Dotson with a lot of targets there, especially against this poor Cardinals team. And finally, I know I've said a lot bad about the Cardinals, but I always go cheap defense here because there's not much difference between the defenses. I'm going to go with the Cardinals at 2,500. Again, I expect it to be a low-scoring game, and with Sam Howell at quarterback and maybe no Terry McLaurin, I'll take that price on the Cardinals D. And finally, we do the week 1 start sits. I'm starting Geno Smith, already discussed why. I'm sitting Daniel Jones. I just think with that matchup against the Cowboys, it'll be a little rough, especially in his first game. Love me some Miles Sanders this week. He's healthy. I know it's still saying questionable, but he's saying he's going to play. Love him against that Atlanta Falcons defense. I'm going to sit Ramondre Stevenson. You're going up against a pretty good Eagles defense. I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. You have Ezekiel Elliott right behind you. I'm not in love with Ramondre this week. I'm going to start Michael Thomas. Again, while he's healthy, we got to utilize him. But I'm sitting a guy that's playing in that game as well, in DeAndre Hopkins. They haven't been able to play together yet in a game, DeAndre Hopkins and Ryan Tannehill. So I think it'll be a little rough of a first game there for them, especially against the Saints secondary. And lastly, please start Tyler Higbee. He's the must start of the week. I think he goes for a touchdown. I think he has 60+ yards, 4 or 5 receptions. He's going to be one of the top tight ends this week with no Cooper Kupp. I'm sitting Cole Kmet. I just think with the new weapon of DJ Moore and also Justin Fields, more of a runner than a passer, I just don't see him going up as good against the Packers defense as some other tight end matchups this week. But there you have it. Not too bad, not too long. That's how it's going to be every week, except next week we will go over how we did as far as our daily fantasy, the start sit, and as well as our predictions. So make sure you check into that. This will be posted roughly every Tuesday or Wednesday evening, right before the start of the football season. So I can give you my locks of the week and, of course, start sits and daily fantasy. If you have a question about who to start sit, anything like that, please comment down below. I will get back to you. Other than that, please follow on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter, Sports Lock Podcast. Guys, I'm very excited for the season. I hope you guys are as well. Good luck to you in fantasy this week. Good luck to your sports bets. Let's come back next week as winners. Have a good one.